Newcastle United squeezed just where they wanted to be, into the Champions League places to run it back from 2 years ago, in which they crashed out of the tournament. They finished bottom of the group, and being one of the lowest seeded in the Champions League this year, it's gonna be as difficult. As with one signing only made, Newcastle need to really get on with it, or they could be crashing out again in the Champions League, and they've got to do better this time round. As Eddie Howe is on a mission going into the 2025-26 season to get the Geordies up and running this time and eventually winning every trophy. As yes, people, welcome back. This is Newcastle for the 25-26 season, and the starting 11 may look no different to you. Sure, there's players that usually wouldn't be in here, like Harvey Barnes. He's actually starting over Gordon in real life a little bit, which wasn't at the start of the season the thing that was happening, and they've signed one player, like I said in that intro, and we've got to go down here to find him, Antonio Cordero. 6 goals, 6 assists at Malaga in his first professional season, earns him a place in the Newcastle shirt. I'm very excited to see how he will do. And despite only one signing, there is plenty to get done right here. We've got rumours galore, we've got players rumoured with going out, and EA, funnily enough, has places in the Europa League, not the Champions League, because with live points the season's over, they finished in 5th. In FC25, 5th isn't Champions League, which is really annoying, and also no Sunderland in the Premier League. Live points, EA, work on them next year. As we're going to work on this Geordie team, I don't know where the 13 millions took out. I think it was me signing Cordero, as 99 is the budget season 1. And before we check out the team on the whole, contracts are going to be an issue. Now, Nick Pope is 33. He's 6'6", and hey, we've got the new kits on. He'll probably get signed up, and then Fabian Schär, he's another 33-year-old. Players we're going to have to replace, but for now, we've got to get our team set up. And if you didn't know the aims by now of the 2025-26 rebuilds, we have to win every trophy available to us, including them one-off ones. In the Community Shield, the Super Cup, and also we need a Ballon d'Or winner, as I believe, with Harvey Barnes on the right, that is the team that will lead us into this first season. Bench looking extremely weak. Cordero we actually can't loan season 1 because he is a new signing, so unfortunately can't get him out, which I wanted to do. And speaking of going out, there was rumours always circulating about this man, Alexander Isak, leaving the club if they didn't get Champions League. Also, minimal rumours about Sandro Tonali, but they still do exist. And Bruno Guimaraes. Now, it all depended on the Champions League, methinks. And I know we haven't got it in this save, but one rule I'm going to make about this rebuild: don't qualify for Champions League means Isak will leave the club. That would be painful if it was to happen, as this season, at least the only positive is we don't really have to sell many players. We've got free range. The only ones going out on loan as well are the low rateds like Joe White and hopefully Harrison Ashby. We've had a loan accepted from Norwich City, then a bid-in for Jacob Murphy. Now, this is where it gets weird. The previous season he's just had, what a standout. He was brilliant for Newcastle. So I am going to be rejecting that bid, but he is 30-year-old. Our right wing is our weakest spot, and I do want to make a signing there. That's going to be the first position season 1 we strengthen, but also Harvey Barnes is going to train there, not in cam, on the right wing, but he's still going to be the backup option because I'm going to make Cordero the backup on the left, and we've got Gordon who's going to start on the left. And then the player I'm actually thinking about starts on the left, but I do want to change his position also to be our starting right winger, and he's a player rumoured with Newcastle loosely. However, he really needs out of Manchester City. His rating's going down, and Jack Grealish. Is he the best player? No, but we have strict transfers on. He's going to cost upwards of 21 million. And for a team that's just won their first trophy in 70 years, I don't want to go mental. Just add one key component to try and get us next season into the Champions League legit. And a slight tweak with him in the squad. I said I was going to play him on the right. I've actually stuck with him on the left, gone with Gordon at right wing. Just thought that was the easier choice to make. Guimaraes, I didn't realise had to be central. Then we've got Schär going down and Kieran Trippier, but the most growth is on the bench, if I can actually speak correctly. And Lewis Hall now to an 83, and Lloyd Kelly, the left-footed centre-back, quite forgotten. Spent last season out on loan at Juventus, weirdly enough. And now comes into our starting 11 with Hall. And that looks a very decent lineup, which should get us into the Champions League, as Kieran Trippier, the only player leaving. And I am pretty fine with that, as could we have a Ballon d'Or winner here? Isak, 43 goals in 68 games. That's a lot. And then we've got Gordon and Grealish. So over 60 goals from these front three. Have we just made the best front three in world football? Well, the league should tell us. Or maybe it doesn't, because that is absolutely dreadful. 20 wins and we don't even get in the top 4. 10 defeats, 68 points. Means Europa League football again. And our big players like Isak are on the chopping block, which really hurts my head. And then we do lose in a final. The FA Cup final against Chelsea. Really bad, but then again, there's a comeback and our first trophy. In season number 1, we beat Chelsea 2-1. That's one of 6 major trophies. Of course, the Ballon d'Or is included to make it 7. And back-to-back Carabao Cups, because that's the trophy Newcastle United won in real life this season. And unfortunately, that's not the trophy for the Community Shield. But could we get into the Super Cup? 7th in the Europa League. Means we avoid playoffs and we beat the kings of this league 5-4 before Frankfurt 4-2. Very nice. We might go all the way here. Beating Braga 4-2 and Atalanta, a team that's also won this in the past, but it is a hammering 4-0 and Newcastle are champions of the Europa League. Now this doesn't count towards a trophy we actually need, but it counts hugely towards maybe keeping Alexandra Isak, because winning the Europa League obviously means we're straight into the Champions League. And I think winning a continental trophy in our first season deserves that subscribe button clicking. And also drop a like if you want to help us out, as we need to help ourselves out by winning that Super Cup in season 2. That could be a big favour for further down the line, because obviously if we are going to get in the Super Cup again, we've got to win that Champions League. And with a budget of £123 million, I'm not stressing about the Champions League. The only thing I want to do, although the board want the final reach in, is I just want to get out of the group stages. Like I previously said, Newcastle got the group of death and exited immediately last time they were in the Champions League, and I think in order to improve ourselves, we've got to be looking at the defense. Now, Kelly is decent, but I don't think Newcastle really want him as a starting player. And then Nick Pope is now 34. Grealish isn't the youngest of players at 30, but it was decent season 1. And Isak obviously can stay, but I do want to get another striker in. And that's because of William Asula. Now, he's brilliant. He's at the Euros under 21s, and I think he's doing quite decently there, but he needs a loan deal, methinks. And same with Cordero. Now, it's not his first season here at Newcastle. 273 rated under 23s could be our future here. As speaking of future, there was a player I thought was destined for Newcastle. However, Chelsea have swooped in, rumours saying he could go to Stamford Bridge. And that's João Pedro of Brighton. Now he's 24, can play striker and cam, and be backup to Alexandra Isak if we actually never qualified for Champions League. Even replace him as a lot of money, because the Seagulls and not letting him go for cheap. Taking our budget to 65 million, and with strict transfers enabled in these rebuilds, I think we might actually struggle replacing both Nick Pope and Lloyd Kelly in this transfer window. So I'm going to have to prioritize replacing one of them, and Nick Pope is 34. And yes, I am going to give him a new contract, as a lot of players out of deals this summer. Taking our budget down to 49 million, and speaking of teams going down, or not going down, apologies to Burnley fans. I thought they were relegated. I didn't see them when checking the league table, but there they are. They're in the Prem this season. And one goalkeeper that kept one of the best defensive records in Europe last year, albeit in the Championship, is James Trafford, 23-year-old. As he goes straight into our starting 11 for the Super Cup, we're going to start off with a low-rated team, but we do beat PSG 1-0. Isak with the goal, even playing Matt Target in the final final, but that is our second trophy and one of the hardest to actually accumulate. 2 seasons, 2 trophies, not bad. And this team's not looking bad. We did change Bruno Guimaraes around, but Tonali, for some reason, hasn't got game time. Very unhappy, which it said that he was a little bit at Newcastle. Or apparently rumours were he was missing Italy, so maybe he actually wants to go back there. However, I do not want to sell him. He's got a transfer request in. Alexander Isak now an 89. Jack Grealish has gone to an 87, grabbing 23 goals. And I tell you what, Isak has been replaced by João Pedro. 27 goals in 49 games. Never mind this man being a backup, he's there to replace the real deal. And maybe he gets his own backup because William Asula to an 81 overall. Out on loan at Monza. Oh my days. 2 seasons, 2 Premier League outings where we don't qualify for Champions League football. Okay, and now I can see Isaac leaving because 1, he's not getting game time, and 2, the only way we get UCL football is by winning the UCL this season. Which honestly I don't fancy us for. We also don't win that FA Cup. We need the Community Shield, man. We lose in the semi-finals to Liverpool. Always there and thereabouts, as we also don't go back to back with the Carabao. This time upsetting round 3 to Fulham. So well done at St James's Park. They go and get their revenge, as we knew we were good enough for the Champions League. We beat PSG in the Super Cup, and we do not enter a playoff round. We then beat Stuttgart 6-3 in a very favourable draw. However, in the quarterfinals, revenge is sweet for Atalanta, who last season we beat in the Europa League final. And unfortunately, going into this season, now Tonali is the highest rated. Guimaraes links with leaving, Anthony Gordon to Liverpool and Chelsea. But I think it's Isak we have to put on the transfer list. He was the main man for Newcastle last season, winning a cup and scoring 8 times in straight consecutive Premier League appearances. It's going to be hard to see him go, but we've got £205 million. A replacement brewing on the bench who actually did score more goals than him last season. And a very good team around João Pedro. Probably could do with another backup winger and definitely a centre-back this season. Lloyd Kelly, I'm going to change him potentially to a left-back because Matt Targett's not very good on the bench. And this guy, Pivash, he's growing very well. I've never heard of him, but him on the bench could be very good. Then we'll get a fullback out of Kelly. We've also got Asula now at an 83. He's gone up 2 in the off-season. And Cordero 79. I didn't introduce you to this guy, but still, I do feel like we need a proper winger to back up with a few more goals. And I'm talking over 10, as there is a player that was rumoured with Newcastle quite heavily. It is Brian Mbeumo, can play in striker also. However, with Thomas Frank at Spurs, Manchester United getting his interest, and us outside of the Champions League spots, I think Brian Mbeumo would not join us. And there's different options I'd go for anyway, as this season, it's not even Europa, it's Conference League, and win the Cup, we should do that with absolute ease. And then win the Premier League title, win the FA Cup. I think we go for both. We need that Community Shield, and we need one of either trophies to get into it. So let's go centre-back first. We need a right footer because Botman is left. And Mark Gehi in his prime at 26 is the reasonable option. Eddie Howe has wanted this man for absolutely ages, and we are paying a bit of a premium. 54 million for the Englishman. Obviously a lot of money, but still we're not going to be short on it because of this man going out in his final year of contract as well. So we've got less money from City for Isak. However, only a backup winger needed, and Jacob Murray is on the edge. He's actually retiring this season, so we definitely need that right winger or left. And Newcastle heavily linked with putting an inquiry in at Nottingham Forest for this man who didn't qualify for the Champions League this season in Elanga, who, by the way, is 85 rated at 26. He's doing absolutely phenomenally. Now, 1 off Jack Grealish. Maybe we change Elanga to a left mid, or maybe we go back with Gordon because Gordon should be right up here at the 90 rated mark. Guimaraes 90, Sven Botman 90, and Tonali leads the way still, 92. Could he win a Ballon d'Or? The Italian centre mid, and I think the fact that he's a centre mid already tells me no. Usually has to be an attacker, and this season João Pedro outscored by Grealish with 46 goal contributions for the 32-year-old. I mean, he's got 91 shooting somehow. How? How has Grealish done that? Insanity. And for the first time, I'm actually not going to get too excited about winning the Premier League because it's about time. And we've been disappointing up to this point. Getting our 3rd trophy, yes. And the first time actually qualifying for the UCL through the actual Premier League as QPR reached the FA Cup final. Don't say they actually beat us. They actually beat Manchester City on penalties. We're nowhere to be seen. There we are, losing to Stockport, a League One club, which is embarrassing. Manchester City win the Carabao. Us out to Aston Villa in round 4. At least we won in round 3. Then the Conference League we don't really care about. We won every single group game, and we actually exited straight away in the round of 16 to Real Betis. A little bit disappointing, but still in the grand scheme of things, this team is in the UCL, and could it win it? Some brilliant ratings around this club. Now we've got to go one further. There's only one position I'm going to check. James Trafford. I'm keeping an eye on you. Not that I actually want to replace him, but I know Nick Pope is retiring, so we will need another keeper. Do we replace the current starting one? Or do we just go for another backup? As speaking of backups, non-Smiley Miley, 22-year-old, has not got game time, so he's going to be unhappy. And he's going onto the loan list, as I'm thinking about it for Cordero, because obviously we've got Harvey Barnes, who will be almost near his last season. And Elanga is going to be our bench winger that gets the priority of game time, as Gordon back to the left, 90 rated and harsh on one player. That's right, 46 goal contributions for Jack Grealish, but now he's on the bench alongside Harvey Barnes. So yes, we'll get these two on the end of the bench loaned out. And then for the first team, like I just said, only goalkeeper I can actually think of. I want to keep our team together, as the midfield I've actually not spoken on. Tonali, Guimaraes and Joe Linton are absolutely phenomenal, and I genuinely cannot find a single soul Newcastle are linked with in centre mid. Let me know if I've missed one below, as I'm loaning 2 guys out. The first one is Miley, a Premier League move still for 12 months to Leeds United, followed up by a 2-year loan for Cordero from Liverpool, and I'm not going to stop him. Playing for the Reds is an achievement, as long as they don't beat us to the Premier League again, or Champions League, that's priority. And there's one goalkeeper I've seen Newcastle linked with apart from James Trafford, and it's this man, Gregor Kobel. Now we are back in the Champions League. Borussia Dortmund had a bit of an off season. I mean, in real life at this moment in time, they've just drawn with Fluminense. So I'm going to pay his release clause. I'm probably going to leave it at 1 signing. And now we've actually qualified for the Community Shield, which is a trophy we need to win. So just like Trafford making his debut, I believe it was in the Super Cup. I can't remember the team we actually played. Kobel makes his debut in an FA Community Shield win, adding us another trophy, leaving 3 just left on this mission. And one of them being the Ballon d'Or. Now Grealish got 46 goal contributions in that Premier League last season, so could he potentially squeeze himself into the Ballon d'Or ceremony this season? But no, he cannot. The biggest threat in English football is Vinny Jr., always beating the Prem players to it. Absolutely robbed, and now his rating is in the gutter. That's just how it goes in FC25, as the bench, apart from Lloyd Kelly looking a little bit weaker, and obviously James Trafford, he's been benched now for Gregor Kobel. And this team, look at our front 3. That is glistening. Now Grealish is out of the way. Can João Pedro plus 6 get the Ballon d'Or? Or maybe Anthony Gordon? Maybe, where is he? Anthony Elanga. As goal-wise, 56 and 28 assists for João Pedro. Then Gordon with over 54 goals and assists, and Elanga joining in with over 30. Insanity, as then we've got Cordero out on loan at Liverpool. Now he's 86 overall. But if he could win the Ballon d'Or himself, that would count. And same with non-smiley Miley. He never smiles in his photo, and now he's 80 rated. Maybe could come back next season and be on the bench, because we do need an extra midfielder for our Premier League season. As look at that, we're dominating the team of the year with the player of the year, João Pedro. Now that is half a step towards winning the Ballon d'Or. However, that's another big step towards it, winning the goddamn Premier League title back-to-back. 17 points clear of Chelsea. We scored an abundance of goals. We hardly conceded any, plus 70 goal difference. That is mental, by the way, and obviously we did win the Community Shield. We didn't get into the final of the FA Cup, which is a letdown. And then the Carabao, however, we do win, so that's another trophy. Hopefully Real Madrid haven't won a domestic treble and haven't won the Champions League, because this is the huge decider to whoever wins the Ballon d'Or. They are down in 6th. PSG at the top, maybe they do have a potential Ballon d'Or winner. And Real Madrid go through as we beat Inter in the round of 16. And then we beat Barca 3-2. And Real Madrid are out to Villarreal. Elsewhere, as then we beat Villarreal 6-3 ourselves. It's Bayern Munich in the final. Can we actually win it the first time of properly asking? Yes is the answer. That's better than going out in the group stages. Obviously no groups anymore. And Newcastle win the UCL. Our 5th trophy out of 7, leaving the Ballon d'Or and FA Cup. The only trophies to win. And I feel confident we could get both this next season. Ballon d'Or has to go to João Pedro next season. He had an 8.10 rating. And that is in all competitions. We also have Anthony Gordon, who's a 94 overall. CDMs have won it in the past with Rodri, so maybe Sandro Tonali could sneak onto the list as well. As now we do get Miley back. However, he's probably not enough. We probably need another winger. I've got just the man in mind. And then, actually a fullback. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but Harrison Ashby actually cost Newcastle a bit of money. Never worked out, never hit the heights, and spent most of his time out on loan. Same with Cordero, who we are going to bring back to the club right now. Let's reset it. There he is in a Geordie shirt. And there he is on the bench next to William Asula, who's done pretty well. He's hit some potential as now a fullback that Newcastle have been linked to. I can't lie, in the first time doing these 2025-26 rebuilds, I am completely stuck on who to sign. Maybe I actually make my own decision here. Or a decision that Eddie Howe would make, as he stole Livramento from a top academy. Or he came from a top academy in Chelsea, so we could do the same with Connor Bradley. So I think this is going to be our signing for the season. I honestly don't think we need anybody else. As there he goes now onto a fully stacked bench, fully over 80 rated. And we're not losing anyone from the first team. Could this team go back-to-back with the UCL? That would be some achievement, obviously, but it's only the FA Cup that is needed. And the Champions League, obviously, as I'm enjoying simming these one-off games. The Community Shield we win, 2-1, telling me we can win in knockouts domestically. And on the continental stage, it is a 4-0 hammering with João Pedro and Anthony Gordon on the goal-scoring list, but hopefully they're on another list. The one for the Ballon d'Or, as we've got 3 players nominated, and we do have a winner on our hands, as the winning man is the new signing, João Pedro. And that is the penultimate trophy in the cabinet, before I actually forget. With this team, and now the highest rated is not the Ballon d'Or winner. Anthony Gordon takes the biscuit with 490 plus stats to his card. And I say this a lot, but just imagine using that in FC25 Ultimate Team. Now, I'm not personally a player, but I would love that. And the goals have seized up a little bit this season. Only 38 for João Pedro. However, we don't need the Ballon d'Or. We just need the FA Cup. And we aren't at the end of the season. We are just before it. So I'm going to take you through everything before we see if we are in the FA Cup still. As in the Premier League with 2 games to go, 77 points. It's still up for grabs against City. Hopefully we do go ahead and win that. The next game was Sunderland and then the Carabao. We literally don't need it anymore, but we've won, I think, 4 or 5 in this save. Plus the one IRL. From last season, you saw the Super Cup already and Nice doing a bit of a run. in the league phase. We beat Sevilla like we did when we won the Europa League Season 1. Then we go ahead and beat Stuttgart in a huge comeback there. We beat Bayern 5-2, who we beat in the finale last season, and book ourselves in the final, but this is not the final we need to win. It's the FA Cup we need to do well in, as we beat Chelsea by 2-0. We then beat Norwich 3-1, Crystal Palace 3-1, West Ham 2-0 because this is a long-winded process to the semis, which we beat QPR 3-0. A very lucky draw, but they've been in this competition before and done well for themselves, but that means our final trophy is up for grabs this season against Liverpool in the final on the 18th of May 2030. Can this team go and grab this competition, as we do have a very tired Sven Botman? However, he has been selected. It is not the UCL finale, it is the FA Cup being played, and I'm very excited to try and win a different trophy for once. That being said, in the last 2025-26 rebuild, we weren't playing for the Champions League again. You can go and watch that one with Chelsea. As the thing I am dreading most is having a bad start in this fixture. We've got Tino Livramento running through. Anthony Gordon is playing against the team that wanted to sign him. Ball held up towards João Pedro. The current Ballon d'Or winner as it stands as Cody Gakpo. That's a good ball into Vlahovic, a signing I actually thought about. And what a goal from their number 27. Dusan Vlahovic, Juventus' top scorer IRL, I believe. Fair play, and our midfield, usually the strongest place I'd say at Newcastle, not being strong at all. We're just getting torn to shreds by Liverpool's quick passing. Dominic Szoboszlai with a Travella straight into the hands of Kobel. Very lucky. However, Guimaraes can't even control it, and it's through onto Brian Mbeumo. Not the man I expected to see at Liverpool, I'll say that, but Salah's probably gone ahead and retired, as that's a good ball through onto Anthony Elanga, who just couldn't find the angle, but João Pedro here. We're on the attack. Anthony Gordon with a cross towards Anthony Elanga this time, scoring the leveller and griddying, even though it's only one apiece. A risky move, but I will take it. Anthony Gordon against the club that wants him, sweeping it across the field, and Elanga sweeping it into the side netting. Two glorious goals scored in this game, you've got to say, as Bruno Guimaraes looking for João Pedro. We're more on it in the second half, as that's poor from Joelinton. Can tell why he's actually not a striker anymore, as Sandro Tonali, he's woken up a little bit in this second half, needs to work with his strikers a bit more, and that is speedy from João Pedro, who hammers it top bins. Second goal for us in this game, come back after the Dusan Vlahovic one, and the Ballon d'Or winner has us in front. Look at that for a shot. Precision into the top bin, beating the goalkeeper Bento. As now we should be smelling blood. We've got ourselves in front. Dembele's come on for them. Get that tackling right there, Guimaraes, if you do want to lift this FA Cup trophy. As Liverpool struggle to find their own, a free kick given away by Elanga. Romero to kick this forward. Tonali with the header, and referee blow that whistle, which he does, signalling Liverpool's defeat and Newcastle's 7th trophy and final one. Objective completed, as Bruno haven't given him his props this save because we've been focusing on attackers and goalkeepers and defenders. And hey, maybe this can happen for the Geordies in real life because they've got a bit of money behind them if they can just get over that spending cap. Who knows, and who knows what the next rebuild will be on the channel. Comment it down below what you want it to be and click my hands for more videos.